Hey, welcome to your reading. Thank you so much for being so patient. Let us go ahead and share the screen and see what we have here. So obviously this isn't going to make any sense to you because there's way too much. So let's take a look. Mica, 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 my favorite name in the world. And let me just check one little thing really quickly. Hold on. One second. So we have a very interesting chart. I just have to check one quick thing just to double check that there's nothing I'm missing. Okay. Just a few moments. Okay. Okay. Yes. Here we are. So that all looks good. One other thing really quickly. Okay. Cool. Got it. All right. Sweet. So yeah. Anyways, so we've got a chart here. Sun in Scorpio, conjunct Jupiter and Venus. Ooh la la. That's like some very lucky Scorpio energy, right? Some very like positive and uplifting Scorpio. It's not that dark Scorpio. It's like that Scorpio mixed with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of spice and everything that's nice. And then we got an opposite. So you were born on a full moon, probably a day, a little less than a day before an exact full moon. So as you know, the days before full moons are often sometimes more intense than the full moons themselves. As I have a kombucha. So you can just think about that for a second. Think about how you feel in full moons. And imagine that that's built into the birth chart. Basically, the masculine and the feminine part of your chart are opposing each other. There's a conflict. There's a need for balance. So we look at the axes, the house, the two houses, 2 and 8, and then the signs, Scorpio and Taurus, which, because you're an Aries rising, is right on the money. Right off the bat, the biggest discussion I had to have is between, and I'm gonna not share anymore so you can just see my face. So the biggest discussion is the fact that there's a karmic imbalance between Taurus and Scorpio. So that's in astrology, we have 6 axes, and these represent the 6. There's 12 signs and 6 pairs. Each one is opposite another one: Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, Libra, Aries, blah blah blah. So when you have one of them highlighted like this in a chart, it means that in past lives, karmically, that there is some imbalance in respect to the meaning of that. So when we speak about Taurus and Scorpio, we speak about how one of them, Scorpio, right, which is your sun, is all about change. It's all about taking these deep psychological risks. It's all about going within our shadow and experiencing darkness for the aim of spiritual growth and metamorphosis, the death, rebirth, transformation that only a butterfly, or maybe not only a butterfly, but that a butterfly may go through. So Scorpio lives in the world of its own shadow. They live in the world of cynicism and understanding in them. They understand the darkness in the potential for negativity, not negativity, the potential for lower aspects. They've noticed that within themselves. So because of that, what do? They expect it in other people. They can have a cynical outlook on life. It's very, very interesting. Scorpio is very sexual. It's very romantic. It's very deep. Scorpio doesn't like to do the small talk, right? It wants to talk about stuff that matters. It wants to express all its emotions. It doesn't want to have people around it who has to be all fairy tale-y and just always in a good mood with. Now, something is very different here about Taurus. Taurus, my friend, is literally the opposite. Where Scorpio is about taking risks and about diving, letting go of control, and surrendering to God and surrendering to the universe, surrendering the ego, because it's so tired of the power struggles, the power games, the manipulation, all these scorpionic, low energy Scorpio things. It's tired of that. It wants a higher spiritual result. Taurus is like, nah, I'm chill. I'm good. I am good. I am happy and I am good. I do not need any change. Whatever, if you try to tell me some stuff, I don't care. Because what I have, I'm not willing to give it up, to let it potentially go. So what happens when your sun is the Scorpio and your moon is the Taurus is that there's a dual personality. Now, I'm not saying you have that personality like a two personalities. I'm saying that there's two parts in psychology. If you ever decide to do astrological counseling with me, which is my best thing I offer after the birth chart, I talk about parts work. I talk about how in many charts like your own, there's these different parts. So there's the part that wants safety. There's the part that wants them, and the part that wants safety is the moon. So the moon is the instinct. It's the emotional need. So to feel secure, you need things to stay kind of the same, but well, that was weird. My cats made it sound right as I stuttered. But to fulfill your purpose in life, you need to take risks. So, and I believe you got a follow-up. I don't have that information in front of me at the moment. Let's go check. I should know this. I think you did. You did. So, yeah. So, I'd be curious to know how this plays out in your life, because it's difficult when you know, a lot of times when people have like sun opposite moon, they tend to really favor one of them and not the other one. So in your case, it could be like really favoring the Taurus and not the Scorpio, you know, not taking the risks, not going into the deep spirituality and the occult esoteric and find that power within and going through the explorations. You know, Taurus likes to stay the same, but it's all about doing both, finding a way at one time, because you know, Taurus moon, it needs to feel emotional security, right? It's very good at meeting its own emotional needs. 1 second. That's why in my recent, I'm sure you saw, post on my Instagram of easiest to least easy to hardest moon signs, I didn't say best or worst. I had Taurus at 2. because after Cancer, which is, you know, ruled by the moon, because Taurus is very easily able to meet its emotional needs. It's very somatically involved. It's very engaged with the senses. So as a Taurus moon, you'll know a lot about your emotions by tuning into your body. That's why something like yoga can be a natural thing for you. A Taurus moon will love to engage their senses also in the respect of like hiking, getting in nature, being in the literal earth. It's an earth sign. And they will tend to be very, very grounded. That's why it's such a strong moon sign, because heaven at its, or excuse me, Taurus at its highest energy represents the archetype of heaven on earth. So think about that for a second. What is heaven on earth? It's feeling at peace. Taurus is peace. But peace sometimes comes at the expense of not growing. And at some point, the soul needs to grow. And that's why you have this aspect, because your soul's ready for this next evolution, right? So it creates a tension that pushes one to act, because it becomes so obvious of the opposite, like these two parts that are so hard to bring together, right? So a lot of times oppositions, when they're not being balanced, there's an externalization. There's something that happens with other, let's say, right? So in this case, it could be something along the lines of, how do I say this? Let me go back to your chart. It could be something like, okay, so second house also has to do with like self-value, like what we value in ourselves, like kind of like our internal resources, right? While eighth house has to do with the resources that we like use from others, like inheritance, like for like a stockbroker, like how we invest someone else's money, teaming up with powerful people. While second house is more about doing it on yourself, on your own. So having that said, there could be, a situation where, for example, you're relying too much on other people, and you get some kind of feedback in the environment, right? Someone says something, or something comes up, a situation comes up that pushes you, right? Because what is not resolved within gets pushed or externally with oppositions. So it pushes you, like let's say like you're relying too much on like external, like a group of people or something like that, or like I don't know, even something like, I don't want to say astrology, because I don't necessarily, I mean, even astrology, because like astrology, when it's abused, and people I've seen someone use astrology recently to completely not feel emotions, and to put like everything is astrology, and that person just wouldn't live like everything was based on astrology. And I pray that he changes that, because it's a very, very difficult way of being. I guess it is kind of part of the process when you first get into it, but still, it just isn't, like, life is not just astrology. Astrology is a way of seeing life. Life is relationships. Life is growth, right? So thinking. So basically, that's kind of an overall idea of how an opposition like that would occur, is that if you can figure out a way, like for the Taurus moon, right? It's like meeting your somatic needs. Like you'll love to touch things. Like it's really good, like to touch the earth, to do things like that engage your touch, your scent, your vision, all the senses, your taste. They love to eat. So like there's like emotional need for like luxury too, and for being at peace. So when you can find peace, it's about, I think for you, it's about finding peace, right? within yourself emotionally, which you have Saturn there, which is going to make it kind of it's going to make it so when you turn 30, and definitely take notes. Let's talk about this in the follow-up. That would be your Saturn return. It probably got a lot easier for you to express yourself emotionally because you have Saturn conjunct your moon. But when that piece is found, then you might feel more comfortable taking these scorpionic risks. Now, with that said, you have Jupiter, the planet that gives luck and expansion and perspective, conjunct your sun. People that have that, they always tend to have kind of like I don't know if this will make sense to you, like kind of like a Sagittarian Jupiter, like Sagittarian feel to them, like a go lucky go, whatever the expression in America is, like kind of like optimistic, like a real aura, a real sense of like very likable, very gregarious, right? And the fact that Venus is right there is going to mean that, yeah, you're a Scorpio, but you're very, very Venusian and approachable. You're very like, and I, like I said, I make an effort not to look at any photos, any posts, because I don't want that. I'll that, of course, I'll follow you and everything, like on my personal Instagram after the session. But until then, I don't want to see a photo. I've seen like literally just your like profile photo, which I try to block out. I try not to stare into the eyes. I try to just like not know anything. But so I don't really know this for a fact from experience. But typically what this does, it creates an individual who is able to express themselves in an artistic way and who's able to attract people to them. And that the arts and also higher philosophy and wisdom play a huge part in their life. And since your sun is in the 8th house, like my own, in Scorpio, mine's in Pisces, this always resonates with every single person I've ever told this. You will go through such intense and drastic death, rebirths, and transformations in your life that there will be times in your life where you will feel like an actor was acting as you, because you're so different now than how you used to be. Take that in for a second and really think, like, positive if you have to kind of like reminisce on that a little bit. An actor, like, you feel like, for me, it's literally like that. Like, I've changed so much, and like, of course, like a cynic of astrology could be like, well, everyone changes, Jesse, but like, no, not to this extent. All right, this is like next level changing, right? Like yeah, people change, people grow, but do they really feel like they're not even the same person? Nah, that's some 8th house stuff. And in that process, you go through your own darkness. So the best way, Mica, forward is through using that Taurus moon. Carl Jung, he used to take these great trips to the unconscious, the darkness, the dark night of the souls. And he always said that the thing that brought him back through all these crazy, I don't know if it was psychedelic, I don't know what he did, but he went on these really intense like trips, like to the unconscious. I don't know enough about Jung to know exactly like what he was doing, if he was experiencing with like how he got to those realms. But basically, I think maybe meditation, maybe some Buddhist thing, I don't know. But he said that the thing that always brought him back, that always anchored him, was the fact that he was a doctor. It reminds me of like mushrooms, which I've done a few times years ago. And the thing that and I've heard this from different people that like brought them back from like really, really like ungrounding, unrooting trips, was the knowledge that they had their child, that they were a doctor, or that they had their career, they were this person, their ego, basically, right? They're like who they are in this present life. So for you to feel very secure in that, it's almost like your Taurus moon can be used as like this rock that grounds you, and that then you're able to go on these deep transformational like epochs or like periods, right? But the fact you have Jupiter there is amazing for also like inheritance. I just need to say it. I need to say it. It's amazing for inheritance and benefiting from other people's money, maybe marrying someone with wealth. It's not gold digger energy at all. It's just literally that's what it is, Mica. It's Jupiter in the 8th house is extremely good for all, and Venus there too, and the sun. It's like very good for inheritance. There's a high likelihood of an inheritance. So that's why I'm definitely hiding your last name here. That was a joke. No one would ever look. But yeah. So when we break, that, and we'll talk more about that later. That gives like an explanation or overall, overview of that. But then there's also this piece about Aries rising, which you have Chiron rising. Chiron rising people, they sometimes tend to carry their pain with them, and they can sometimes look a little bit sad. Now, don't take that in a mean way or a bad way, because I'll give you more information about this. What I mean by that is that they carry the fact, not the sadness, like they just look sad to everyone. They look like they're a healer. And being a healer, in your case, in Aries, a leader healer, right? Someone who heals like in a pioneering way, is a huge part of your personality. You have an extremely healing effect on those in your environment, which is beautiful. My mom has this as well, by the way. And yeah. And I wouldn't say she appears sad. I would just say she's had to like really do a lot of healing in her life. It's been a huge karmic impetus for her. Now, 9-degree Aries rising, right? Aries rising makes you very assertive. So you have 3 different energies that have nothing to do with each other. Besides the fact that Aries and Scorpio are both Mars, right? In your big 3. So you have water, earth, and fire. And then you have air with your Mars. So you have every single element. Bravo. The Aries is just going to make you more assertive. It's going to make you, I use the word child, like it can make someone a little bit childish. Like they'll just like do something like without thinking, a little like rambunctious sometimes, like in touch with their inner child, like very, very, like adventurous, enthusiastic. Like it's that fire energy. So they like to start lots of things, very pioneering, headstrong, right? And super self-reliant. So yeah. A lot of times the Aries people, they have to like really restrain their impulsive nature. Hi, husband. Let's open this up. So that's important. I guess I could. So, yeah. Just showing you your chart again. So aside from that, Moon conjunct Saturn, that makes it difficult. I said before, for emotional vulnerability, for emotional expression. You could have had like a very strict parental figure, potentially the father. Even though the moon is the mother usually, so it could have been the mother. I mean, we'll definitely have to talk about that. A lot of times, sun opposite moon has to do with a divorce between the, or like some discord between the mother and the father. And yeah, it's overall just like it can be difficult. Let's just say, let's be real. It can be difficult, especially earlier in life, but it gets a lot easier in your life when the Saturn return hits. I said that before. 30 years old, and you're past that point. So you I think in probably what, like 8 years or so, you'd be hitting your second Saturn return, something like that, probably, roughly. So yeah, the Aries rising, it's going to make you assertive, and it's going to make you really go towards what you want to go towards. In this case, a lot of that is healing. And Mars is, ruling your first house, ruling your chart, and it's in the 7th house of relationships. So it's actually going to make you really relationship oriented too. And Mars and Libra is going to make you really want. It also creates someone who's very indecisive a lot of times, who has trouble making even the smallest of decisions. And they really need to have a creative, artistic, like they can kind of sometimes just go this option, and then they just do nothing. So it's really important for them to have like the Taurus moon is like all about like having the value system that you can base your decisions on, right? Like, oh, this thing came up, but because I believe in this, this is my value system, I'm gonna choose this choice. Or else it's just too all over the place with that energy, right? It's too wishy-washy. But Mars, okay, so now let's talk about relationships. So Mars in Gemini, right? In the 7th house, conjunct Uranus, is going to make you at one part of you is going to really want to have balance and harmony and fairness in relationships. And also, what's beautiful about Mars in 7th house, it gives you, well, it does give you a real drive towards relationships, and very fair ones, very, very beautiful ones. Uranus gives you a drive towards unconventional relationships, where you're not like you might you might really want like a relationship that's based on principles of freedom, principles of I don't know. Yeah, freedom is a good word. My dog cat brought me his toy. Let's see if you can. Felix, go. He brings it back. He plays fetch. But yeah. So that's kind of what's going on there. Is that Uranus is the great liberator. So it's actually trying to liberate you from that tendency of being maybe like a little bit. There can be a tendency to be people-pleasing relationships with 7th house, with Libra ruling your 7th house. So it's really important to have boundaries and strong principles that guide you within your relationships, right? Venus opposite Saturn, that's really difficult for like, so you have so many Saturn aspects, like so many. I guarantee you your life at 30 changed around that age, changed like night and day. It's conjunct your moon, which makes it opposite your sun. So there's probably issues with both parents. Maybe very strict, very cold, or like emotional I love yous and stuff wasn't really shared in the family. And then it's also opposite Venus and yeah. So with Venus, it's like, and Venus conjunct Jupiter, it's kind of like Venus is self-love, and then it also reflects like kind of our style in love, right? So Venus in Scorpio people, they love with passion. 8th house Venus, they love so intensely. It can almost be obsessive how much they love. But the fact that Jupiter is there is going to make it a lot easier. But the fact that it's retrograde makes me think that there is an obsession and a potential. I sense like codependence being an issue, a karmic issue, because Venus retrograde, opposite Saturn, would indicate someone that had, because of their parental karma, issues with self-esteem and self-image, and because of that, they look for their savior within relationships. And as you know, when you put like when you put other, like the relationship partner, in this like category of God savior, it's not comfortable for anyone. And that's what Venus retrograde people do a lot of times. And in Scorpio, it can literally be stalking. It can be obsession, loving so deeply. But it gets so much easier in time. And around 30, it becomes something where, Venus opposite Saturn, someone who can really have long-term lasting relationships, because Saturn and Venus, it creates love into the old ages. But the first part of life, up to the Saturn return, is spent really sometimes overthinking things when it comes to love, and being putting a little bit too much energy. And that's also shown by the Mars in the 7th house. Very relationship oriented. Because like whatever house your Mars is in, it gives you a strong drive towards that house. So it's in the 7th house, a strong drive towards relationships. So it makes you want to like remain quite independent. So this is interesting too, is that there's one part of you that wants to be really close, like two souls becoming one in relationships, and there's one side that wants you to have lots of distance. The Uranus wants to have lots of distance and freedom within relationships. So it's like, how do you make that work too? Those are two opposing forces, two parts. But there's definitely also like, in respect to art, like a strong creative urge. And you want to have relationships. So it's another interesting thing is that, like, on one hand, you don't want to have these really hectic relationships, right? But on the other hand, the 8th house energy kind of brings that and forces it, right? Because 8th house is that intensity. So it'd be interesting to see like kind of how that plays out too. This battle between keeping everything cool and having that intensity, allowing that intensity, those dramatic events and scenarios to play out. 1 second. Okay. So is it weird that I get allergies at night? I'm just starting to get my hay allergies, and I haven't been getting them during the day. I guess it's because I'm just like awake super late at night, but whatever. The hell is my cat doing? Okay, anyways, we continue. So yeah, Venus and Scorpio, what can I say? Retrograde. Very, they're looking for their soulmate. And there's just like this super intensity where they sometimes just put too much in the relationships. And it can be so sad for the first 30 years. And I think that you have, and Mica, I want to tell you this, like from the bottom of my heart, no one that's not an advanced soul has a chart that's this difficult. Yours is a difficult chart, Mica. But difficult isn't bad. It's like difficult when you're younger, but there's this amazing feeling of success when you're older, when you've gone through the trial. And it's very easy to overlook, which is why I would like to give you the assignment to write a book. I'm just joking. No, but to really reflect and to write something about your whole life through the lens of this reading, right? Like how far you've come from where you've been. Because I think you take it for granted, potentially. How much you've healed. Have you broke? Because like this is the chart of someone who's meant to break a generational curse. Like no lie. Someone who's meant to be the person so brave that they were chosen by the cosmos to break the curse that was in a family system for 17 generations. I don't know if you have kids or not. Be interested to find out. So Uranus in the 7th house is going to create an energy where one at some point starts to see and feel like their relationship is a prison. And then they want to break free if the relationship doesn't give them enough freedom to express their individuality. If it does, and that partner allows them to kind of come, like the perfect thing, and it's actually similar to me. I need to turn this light off. It's like needing someone who allows you to come to them. That's how I see it. Right? Allows you to come to them. You don't feel this pressure. You don't feel like you're being psychoanalyzed. I see that in your chart too. Although you are Scorpio, you are the natural psychologist. You have that in 8th house is amazing. You have this lie detector, this built-in lie BS detector where you just like. Also, studies of the occult and the esoteric, like you have such an advantage if you really like tried to get into astrology or tarot or anything mystical. Like you would literally have this, like I always call it Jupiter in the 8th house. It's like the 8th house is like studies of life after death. Like you have this ability to like literally just understand stuff that people are so afraid of. So when it comes to death, you might have this really like light relationship with death and wonder like, why do people get so fucking sad? Like, because you see it and you feel it. It's not about seeing it logically, it's about feeling it intuitively. And it's different for you, right? It's not just this sad thing potentially. Maybe it is, but there's definitely potential for you to explore these realms and have this like lantern. I think of it like a Harry Potter movie. Like most people are like walking through this like old abandoned mansion, which represents the 8th house or the 12th house, right? Which your 12th house is ruled by Neptune or by Pisces with Neptune in the 9th. So it's like also, you have like through the darkest spiritual realms, you have this like flashlight or this lantern where you can actually see, which gives you perspective. And also like discernment and the ability to like really understand what's bullshit and what's not. So then your Mercury is 29 degrees, which means that it's at the a critical degree, and basically it creates kind of a Pisces completion energy when it comes to your mind and your discrimination and everything related to the Scorpio Mercury, which has to do with learning about these 8th house matters, the esoteric, the astrology, the things that really interest you. You may, and what's going on with Mercury? So Mercury has nothing difficult. In fact, it's conjunct Neptune. So you have this amazing imagination, right? Amazing imagination, and psychic ability. Like I'm not even just saying that. To see, it's just about like doing the meditation, doing the daily routine, because your Pluto's in the 6th house. So that's asking you, please, like, do that. Do the little steps that it takes to get to like, for example, like to get spiritual, you have to like set, your be like, okay, I'm gonna meditate at this time. We all, I don't do this, but like, like this is just an example, right? Painting a picture. Like I'm gonna meditate at this time for 20 to 30 minutes every day. That's like the spiritual. Then there's like the creative. I'm gonna journal, for 10 minutes. Dream journal when I wake up every day. If I like, as long as I remember my dream, I'm gonna journal at the end of the day to kind of like, that's like the emotional like part is like I'm gonna journal and I'm gonna do like a gratitude list every single day. Whether it's written, I think written would be very good because Gemini is ruling your 3rd, and that it's actually like makes it so the ruling planet of your 3rd house, which obviously is the Aries Rising, is Gemini, is in the 8th house. There's going to be a real depth and a real potential to have these really deep, I know you said deep in depth, but like really profound writings. And you may be someone with all these opposite, the Saturn, that you're very restricted. You've been held back a lot, and there may be okay, here's such a fucking important part of this reading, and this isn't even the reading. This is just me, pure fucking pure just me to you. You might have and still have a lot of shame from something that was not your fault at all. In fact, it was meant to be like that. And I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just know what I see. You know, you're the only one that lives that has lived your life. So you know what I'm referring to. Letting go of that shame, letting go of that karmic load, you know, and we'd have to do the after this you should do the, if you're of course able to afford it and like me as an astrologer, the next step after the follow-up is the current astrology report, which is ideally done each year. I just did one, it was magical. So that would give more indications of as to the current energy of what you're going through right now. I just think you're a very sweet person with an amazing heart. This is what I get psychically. But I feel like you've been hurt a lot. And I feel like you didn't have, like, you feel like you didn't have a fair chance with it, you know, whether it was your parents, whether it was your early environments. And maybe now you have resources. And I'm not saying not resources like money, like I'm talking about like resources like I don't know, this, astrology, spirituality. I need to do this weird noise. I'm so sorry. So embarrassing. I only do that for my girlfriend, but let's say I get this weird tick, and my mom, and my brother. Who else do I do that in front of? And Trey. But yeah, so it's just tough. But yeah, like so when the Saturn return happened, a lot of all the energies got a lot easier, but they didn't just go away. The Venus, you know, I'm curious if you're married, because you're able to open yourself up emotionally a lot easier, which is obviously so fucking important for relationships. And you know, Mars there conjunct Uranus, like, yeah, so I talked about that push and pull. Jupiter there, what was I talking about? I totally lost it. Yeah. So okay. Another thing about your Mercury, which, you know, it's in the inner I need to know this word, anarchic degree. And why is this okay? So you didn't see me that whole time. God damn it! It's called anarchic degree. I thought I turned off the sharing. Whatever. What's happening? Why isn't it showing? It's the fate degree. Problematic, peak. Yeah. So it's before it goes to another sign. So it's the anaretic. Okay. So yeah, basically, you know, the imagination sometimes can be too fluid potentially, and sometimes can get you into trouble. But the key is to channel it into something creative, like writing. Mercury, like talking about something spiritual or researching something that's really related to like your dream life. So it's like I think dream journaling is like literally like one of the best possible things in your chart. Because I think like Neptune and Mercury together, Neptune rules dreams, Mercury rules talking about and writing about. So that could be very, very, very powerful. Aside from this, Let's see here. Let's go down the list. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I imagine you being very like having no problem with popularity. I mean, when you have Venus and Jupiter together in one house, that house, I've made a video about this before a long time ago. It's like if you have Jupiter and Venus together, it indicates a house slash sign that you are a master of. And for you, it's Scorpio in the 8th house. So you're a master of transformation and transformations and allowing yourself a lot. So it makes you think that maybe the Taurus part hasn't been like given enough. If maybe you balance them, but like because you have such positive energy in the Scorpio house and even Mercury there, which makes you want to talk about it, you know, Saturn's alone with fucking, or Taurus is alone with fucking Saturn, you know, like what most would say is the most malefic, difficult planet, right? So it's like all the best, okay, all the most fortunate planets are with the Scorpio sun, and the difficult ones with the moon. So it's like when I talked earlier about how like people with oppositions, they tend to favor only one side. Well, yeah, for you, it's probably the Scorpio. So how do we bring the Taurus and have the needs met? I already said the answer. Engaging the senses, doing things that engage the senses. What else can I say? You know, stability, balance, routines, being a rock, you know. Also people when they're under stress, Taurus under stress, they can overeat, overindulge in the senses. They can be a little hedonist, like with the pleasures of the flesh, as they say. But yeah, it usually makes someone very practical and they're able to like overcome it. So it's a really, really good moon sign. Also, it's really good for things like decorating, cooking, music, the arts, enjoying those things. So yeah. So then Saturn in the 2nd house, that, you know, creates someone who is typically from a poor family a lot of the times, and they have to like, not always, but there's this experience of emotional and financial poverty early in life. I've had clients who had this, who's inherited a ton of money, interestingly, but because you know a lot of entrepreneurs, they start off with nothing. So I've had like various clients where like I've seen different examples where like the Saturn and the Pluto were in the 2nd house, something like that. So they grew up really poor, right? But then by the time they were older, their parents' business were worth millions, tens, 20s, 30 millions of dollars, you know, and they inherited that. So like they like kind of had this experience of poverty, which then led them to being very conservative with money. And also moon in the 2nd house is going to give a huge emotional need for money. And it's going to also make money go up and down. So it can tend to make someone very conservative, even if they're rich, wealthy. They can have this incredible, because you know Saturn rules our fears, fear of losing it, right? So there's like emotional and financial poverty, but like through your hard work, you are able to really build up, you know, your success, your personal resources, and yeah, makes one a very persistent, slow, methodical worker as well when it comes to working. So with this tricky chart, I'm trying to think of what other themes I'm sensing, or seeing, or sensing. Midheaven ruled by, you know, midheaven Capricorn. So Saturn, once again, you know, I would imagine that you're like that money and success played a big role into whatever, you know, career you chose, unless you got very lucky. Saturn. So with that said, with midheaven, which rules career and like dharma and life purpose, you probably felt very, very lost until the first 30 years. And after that, like everyone has like an interesting different story of what happened to them during their Saturn return. You know, like for me, I met my girlfriend, and it was just like really, really like tumultuous. Now it's really, really chill, but it was just very, very, very like Plutonian and dark. Not like in a mean-spirited, like disloyal way, just in terms of like fights coming from her. And I had to like take it and experience a shadow. Nothing like me, just, you know, not being able to handle emotions on no one. Yeah. So for you, I can't even imagine like what happened, but like when it comes to your career and your outer life being run by Saturn too, being ruled by Saturn, it would make sense that you would have seen a big tick up in your status, and also in your self-esteem, and you're feeling like you're feeling of I can do it, your third chakra, and also your first chakra, which is like related to the Taurus moon, right? Feeling like a rock. So doing chakra work can be very important for you. Very, very important. So then back to the Chiron in Aries, you know, when Chiron's in the first house, a lot of times there's like a wound, like a physical wound, right? That's like really like feeling like when you express your emotional essential being, there's like this rejection, right? And in Aries, like any Chiron in a fire sign, it relates to like issues with letting that Aries part out, right? Letting that fire out can have been problematic. Like, and there can be overcompensation by I gotta be first at this, I gotta be first at that. And just problems, hey Mica, just like problems around like, you know, about the third chakra. I can do it. Exactly that. There could be head wounds because Aries rules the head, just like that's something to look out for. But yeah, you can really become like a pioneer in a way that helps serve humanity. I'm really curious what you do with that 8th house, and if you ever, you would be like, I know nothing about you, and you are, you know, with your midheaven in Capricorn, that's what you rules how you appear on social media. And I've always found Capricorn to be very mysterious. And of course, I told you I didn't look at you, but on purpose. But like, still, even just like the little photo and the way you talk, I still feel like there is a lot of intrigue and mystery. So with that said, you know, counseling, astrological counseling, if you're ever interested, that's my main thing. I love doing it. It's my passion. It is how we take this. The only way I allow people to do it is if they get this reading first. I see it becoming my main, you know, of course, natal charts will always be amazing, but I think it's the deepest way I can help heal someone and help with my 2 master's degree in psychology, lead them to greater growth and getting past issues. So if you feel like that, just message me. No pressure, obviously. I don't. People don't really know about that I do these things. They think I just do natal charts. So it's important for me to tell people that I do, you know, astrology teaching at all levels, one-on-one, very affordable, and it's the same thing for the counseling. So yeah, it's very affordable. And it's affordable. Why? Because I'm trying to gain more and more experience in it. One day it will be more expensive. And yeah. So okay. So Pluto in the 6th house, that's asking us to, in this lifetime, it's conjunct Black Moon Lilith. That's like super witch energy. Maybe you were witch in a past life, but it's really asking you to be of service in this life and to like the routine is super important for you. There's like a spiritual dimension to the routine and to the health and to the diet and to how you can kind of balance out your karma by being of service to humanity. It doesn't mean quit your day job and just join a charity. It's more about like, you know, like being a good worker, being someone that's there for humanity, which links exactly to your North Node in Aquarius. Also Pluto in the 6th house, there can be like it can be difficult for health. And the biggest challenge is to recognize the power of the, like, you have to understand and see life through this, which is why your 8th house in this exploration of the esoteric, of the occult mysticism is so important, to see the link between body and mind. That's everything. Everything is body and mind and spirit. Like, I heard a story from this girl I met in Serbia who her dad smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, but he never, and he wasn't a spiritual man at all. He was just your typical Eastern European, like, industrial kind of guy. He went to a doctor for something that he thought might be his lungs. Doctor told him, it looks like you have the lungs of a baby. And it made me realize, and I've heard so many countless examples, and I asked for more, and I realized, like, this man never worried. That was never something that existed in his mind, this lung cancer. And of course, science, I mean, of course, yeah. But the power of the mind, people aren't even close to understanding it. You know, your words that you use are literal magic, as you know. And a lot of the words, my friends, are not heard. They're unconscious, right? Like, I suck. They're beliefs, but they're still words, you know, or like, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Like, you know, I have a client. I guess I haven't seen her in a while, who just couldn't get out of her self-imposed. I mean, her overall view was that, you know, she wanted this very, very specific outcome with her life, right? And it wasn't happening. She was getting older, and she felt like the universe owed her something. And she just like victimized. It was just pure, like, you know, self-victim, like, just like, I'm the victim. Like, God hates me. And what does that do? You know, and your Virgo, your Pluto is also at 29 degrees, by the way. So this is like a massive lifetime for you in terms of like taking the next step on your evolutionary journey when it comes to like shadow work and going deep within. So your chart's been facilitated. But the reason I say that, yeah, let's look at this. So the reason I said that about my past client is because your 6th house Pluto is exactly that. You know, her continuous inner monologue of, I'm not good enough. I'll never marry. I'll always be unhappy. I've never been happy. That is magic. She's setting, it's so sad and it was so tragic because there's nothing. I tried everything, and maybe I hope, you know, to have more sessions with her, but like, there was just nothing that could work. I did every single thing. But, you know, what I learned through my experience with her was that you can take a horse. I knew this before. You can take a horse to the well, but you can't force the horse to drink. And you know, she wasn't ready to drink. She wasn't ready to take responsibility. And even if some stuff wasn't her fault, you know, it's still her life. You choose how you want to look at it. But that's kind of what I see and I'm telling that story because it's relating to your chart. With this Pluto, you know, it's really asking you, it's in Virgo too, the sign of service. So how, Mica, can you be of service if you are in a position of means, right? Financial, like where you've succeeded a lot, you might not be at all, by the way, with the Saturn in the second house, or you might just be in this constant flux of up and down with finances. And these 8th house energies might be more related to, let me pull your chart up in Placidus. I'm just a little curioso. Okay. Yeah, so even in Placidus, it's in all, the stuff's in the 8th house, and even Neptune falls in the 8th house, so it doesn't change anything, like anything like huge. Pluto's in the 6th house, so it's like, yeah, definitely like lots of like emotional, spiritual healing that's meant to be done this lifetime, and overcoming like a relation, like the relationship thing. That stands out to me from the Placidus system. And yeah, so where'd you go, Mica B? So more like about so yeah, that's kind of how I see that. And so yeah, like don't quit your day job, but like try, like how can you be, and not doing some charity stuff just to do it, like literally doing it because of the love for humanity. And that's linked to your North Node. So your North Node right here, should I share it again? Why not? Your North Node represents the mountain never climbed, the metaphoric mountain never climbed in past lives. It's kind of like your destiny. And it's 29 degrees again. So this is a very culminating Piscean. When I say Piscean, I mean like all the karma, like it's like the energy of your life is kind of like, let's say you have a semester at school, and you're cramming for the test. And your test is coming up, right? And it's like, now is like the culmination of the whole semester, and we'll see like how, like if you were good, then it won't be as difficult. But yeah, so curious to see how that feels, if you feel like that's the theme in your life, like lots of like kind of karmic endings, like your life is like a karmic, like turning the chapter karmically in a lot of ways, because you have 3 points at 29 degrees. So yeah, with the North Node in Aquarius, which is what I have too, in the 11th house, you have it. You're really meant to find like-minded people, and be a part of a group. And we'll talk. Remind me when we talk live. Have a discussion about this North Node, because that could be a fruitful discussion. But it's also about like, it's very much about humanitarianism, and it's about karmically, there's been too much me, not enough we, and I have the same thing, so don't worry. It's just that they're in different houses. So the fact that it's in the 11th house is just like, it's like, yeah, it's very, very selfless, and you're trying to think about life from that viewpoint of we. How does my decisions affect others, right? Like what can I do to help you see, see how, like, I have a new Aquarius client, and she just like is the most empathetic person. She just she's a teaching, I do teaching, one-on-one teaching for astrology 101 or any level. And she just is this amazing person who's an Aquarius, and she's like trying, like her whole life is about like helping underprivileged people from underprivileged countries, and becoming a lawyer and doing law related to that. It's just so beautiful. That is high Aquarius energy. So with Okay, so we've done a lot of planets. So, okay, we've done this, we've done that. So yeah, with the Mercury there, like I said before, you're really gonna like to talk a lot about really deep stuff and really maybe even research a lot of really deep stuff and probe deep and maybe become obsessed in the things you learn about and have deep discussion. You're really gonna hate small talk. Neptune in the 9th house. I think you can. I wish you could see my face while I shared. That reflects like someone who is so 9th house is like philosophy, traveling. So it can create someone who searches for like who's like on this constant search for the perfect philosophy and who can be like confused. You have to watch out for like cult leaders and like people that like swindle you, that they're like kind of sketchy spiritual people, you know, who like you have to watch out for those kinds of people. And then there can be disappointments that come when it comes to traveling and like the like cult example, like let's say like you sign up for this like astrology course, right? Let's say there's like me who's like an actual good, like legit good, honest astrologer, doesn't overcharge, and then there's like an astrologer who is the opposite. You know, he maybe like edits his videos, his posts better than me, or she has more love and light and smiles more in her videos or something, but she's not real. But you sign up for her course because you're like, okay, she seems good, and I want to, you know, she seems, well, it seems like a good course, and then it's just like complete bullshit. That would be an example of that. So yeah, that's kind of Neptune. I want to pull out my notes about some of these too. You waited for a really long time, so I'm really like wanting to give you an extra special reading. Not that every reading isn't special, but like I want to make sure I don't miss a beat. Okay, so let's minimize this. No, it's not. Okay, let's go into Neptune in the houses. I love doing these readings when I have the NBA. I'm like a big basketball fan. I just like have the game on in the background. Get to kind of peer at the score once in a while. But I end up like missing the whole games. But then when it comes to the fourth quarter, I'll, or like the end of the game, I'll like, you know, pause the reading if I'm still doing it. I'll try to like time the reading so I finish like right, like this reading right now. It's just the end of the third quarter, and by the time I finish, it'll be like the perfect, you know, time in the game. So okay, 9th house, I said that part. So yeah, it's one of the best placements for Neptune. It gives tremendous faith in the divine, which you have so much. You're so close to God with the 8th house energy too. You can even be religious potentially, but like, you know, religious in the new world, new age is like more spiritual, I feel like. I mean, I know religion still exists. And by new world, I mean like my Instagram followers, because I live in an Orthodox country. Mystic okay, its expansive traits are good for the mystic powers of Neptune, enhancing its otherwise passive functions. So Jupiter can be, which is conjunct your Venus, can be even more mystical. So cool. So it's going to make you really interested in higher meanings, the search for God and truth. You'll be interested in religion and mysticism. But you'll have like a very like different type of spiritual quest than like the majority of society. It'll be very unique. And the thing I said about like the religious fraud, that's more like, let's see if you have any of these aspects. I didn't see any difficult aspects with Neptune. No. So everything I said about like you do have to watch out for it, but because you have so much Scorpio energy that sees through the bullshit, I'll be right back. You hear me still. But because you have so much like of that energy, right, that sees through the bullshit, you're gonna have such good what's the fucking word in English? Such a strong ability to like judge, such a great judge of character, and that's actually going to really help you choose the right leaders and the right people that you want to really listen to, right? Like you can, I'm not tooting my own horn, okay? But come on, I'm an honest person. Like I literally don't do drama. I charge so much less than I should charge compared to other astrologers that aren't even, you know, and I sound like this is arrogant, but like literally like it's just true. It's just facts. You know, I really don't think that like the Leo King or any astrologer, Deborah Silverman, I think that if they did a reading of your chart and you have to say which one was better, I think that you would say it. I think that you would say mine is better because I bring that raw truth. I bring that raw energy, and I'm willing to go over fucking time. You know, granted they're way busier than me, so maybe one day and way more expensive. I think the Leo King is like $1,000 or more for a reading, like a 30-minute reading, and like I just feel like I don't know, it's a different story. But yeah. So okay. I was talking about Neptune, 9th house. If you write a book, watch out like for like who you give the rights to. It's really good. It's in yeah, like watch out for like the Hare Krishna type groups, but you don't really have difficult aspects, so it's fine. It's a strong placement that just gives you like real faith and connection to the divine. Talked about the midheaven, North Node in 11th house. We talked about that. You know, it's a quest to learn to serve humanity and to be selfless and letting go of like possessive and passionate personal relationships in order to carry out a detached service to humanity. So like, you know, being like going from me to we, but not just disregarding me. And yeah, you know, like there can be a struggle between your own personal needs and a sense of dedication to others. So you may need to lay aside your personal needs for honor and prestige and use your talents to serve the world. So, I think I said pretty much every planet. Did I not? Yeah, so now let's see if there's any like big time asteroids, or, and we'll take a look in my just to see like if there's any. Okay, so yeah, you have, wow, okay. So you have one of the really most difficult asteroids conjunct your, or fixed stars conjunct your sun. You've seen me post about it. I think you commented Serpentis. So that one's really tough, and I haven't experienced it. I learned about it in the last like month or two, but you know, many astrologers say that it brings out like the kind of worst. It can bring out like the kind of cruel parts of Scorpio. But with that said, you know, you do have Jupiter and Venus. So Jupiter and Venus are so close to your that it doesn't matter what fixed star, those dominate. Those are planets. This is a star. It's not even close. So you're so lucky. But what it says here is Sun conjunct, and it's called Unu Kalai, but it's Serpentis. Many quarrels and disappointments, unfortunate life, seriously affected by the death of family or friends. So it's not that bad with the sun there, and the fact that, you know, it's the neck of the snake. It's also all about that knowledge that the good doctor has won from his labors. I know there's a good part to this too. A black reputation sometimes is gained from the debasers of astrologer for those who will abuse and misuse the gifts available here. So it seems that this is like, it's like lots of gifts, lots of like really amazing gifts actually. So, but those who will give, so it says the people that give a bad name to this are like should be struck off the register as any corrupt doctor. But those who will give service in healing or teaching what they receive. So if you're of service, like literally we talked about in your chart with your Pluto and your North Node, which are the two most important growth points in your chart karmically. So, but those who will give service in healing or teaching of what they receive have only good fortune to expect when Serpentis Unutali shines on them. This half of the snake, by the way, to the man's left is now called Serpent Caput, head side of the snake, counting a different constellation, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's actually like more bad when it's like with Mars or Saturn. With the sun, it seems like it gives a lot of deep esoteric knowledge, so I was wrong. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go 9, 14, 16. So Algenib, Nenkar, so, and then with your that Taurus for a twin and Virgo. Okay, those ones. And 14. Okay, and then 16, 17. Hey, Esme. Wait, hold up. That's a mistake. 15. No, it's not a mistake. And then 14 Libra was what I was looking for. That's the one I missed. None. 29. And that'd be the last one. Okay, so let's see what it says what. Okay, so basically, algeny conjunct your ascendant, rash, very obstinate, ruined by headstrong and precipitate conduct, stubborn but with original inventive ideas, can act rashly, leading to undesirable consequences. That's your ascendant, so it's Aries, and that's very Aries sounding. Algenib is the star, and then Menkar is, I think it's 14 Taurus, so it is conjunct your moon. I know nothing about Menkar, and let's see what it says. If anything, mental anxiety, hatred of the vulgar, ill will of woman, danger from thieves, sickness to native and family, loss of marriage partner or near relative, quarrels, legal losses, legacies, and inheritances attended by much evil. Legacies and inheritances attended by much evil. So remember that. Lean and infirm, many miseries. So. But once again, you have your freaking moon in Taurus. Come on. It's a fixed star. All right. Yeah. So it does create a level of anxiety, let's just say, and some of that stuff, but also like you do have a real ability to meet your emotional needs. So finally, Marquette, let's see if there's anything about this. I kind of doubt there is. Dope. And finally, the last one, Zubin Janubi. Don't ask me to pronounce that again. Which is at 15. Here's Esme, by the way, my Cancer baby. So that one is, wait, 16, 17. What was 18? So it's 16, 17 we're looking for, and there's not really anything popping up. So it's only going to be affecting the Venus 16 at 16, and yeah, only the Venus, so not the Jupiter. So basically this one, let's see what it says. With Venus, it can create jealousy of one's own sex. Okay. Interesting. And then the Zubin Shamali, I think that one's the rider one. That one's right on your sun, actually, closer than the Serpentis. And this one is the last one I'm going to say. Zubin Shamali, it even sounds nice. Great fortune, high position. This is on your sun, right on your sun, closer than Serpentis. High position, transitory difficulties eventually proving beneficial. It favors civil servants, lawyers, and scientists. So you got the whole rundown. Every freaking asteroid and fixed star. Oh, and I didn't talk about your part of fortune. So one thing I didn't talk about. So why don't I do that? I know I'm talking on this accent. Oh, and you have Vulcanus on your IC, so that can like speak to like some like real like volcanic energy from the childhood. Okay, so oh, and then 9, I forgot to look at that. 9 Libra. 9 Libra. Okay, 2 last things. 9 Libra and 6 Capricorn. Ooh, okay. And then, okay. So 9 Libra is where your descendant is. So it's like relating to relationships. Let's see if it says anything. Probably not. It's it's fixed star Vindimiatrix, and it is not saying, it's not saying shit. No, it doesn't even talk about the descendant. It doesn't see it as important enough to even mention. But the fact that you have star Taurus Borealis conjunct your midheaven. Let's see what it says. Wow. High ecclesiastical honor, martial preferment, prosperity in business, money. And John Lennon and Che Guevara had it. Promoter of idealistic and humane ideas. And that is a beautiful, and that's on your midheaven, which has to do with career. Props to you on that one, my friend. So finally, part of fortune is kind of like where you find your sweet spot. Also, your sun moon midpoint, where it's kind of similar to that too. It's like where your sun and your moon meet. The middle is in the 11th house, which is close to your north node, which is basically the whole thing about friends and like-minded people and humanitarianism, and how that's really like, that's ultimately how you fuse that Taurus and Scorpio issue, is through Aquarius. So the high, study with the high, if we do our follow-up, or we will do our follow-up if we ever do sessions, counseling, we remind me that we would talk about, and even the follow up, the high energy study on your own, the high energy of Aquarius. So finally, I'll end with the part of fortune. This is like where your flow state is. Did I say your Juno too that you have in Taurus, which is basically like in relationships, like you're looking for your rock, and then you're, for someone who's just a rock and consistent, and the vertex is in Libra, which is basically saying that in relationships you come off like you appear very, very fair, and that your doorway to higher awareness is through very, very beautiful and balanced relationships. Part of fortune is conjunct vertex, exactly the same. So that's doubling down on what I just said. You're going to experience joy whenever you create a sense of harmony and right human relations, whether it's business partners, romantic partners, or whatever, one-on-one partners, but not friends. It's more lovers. And your fulfillment will accompany a sense of belonging. In the 7th house, your greatest joy comes through union. Giving to others is the key to your self-fulfillment and happiness. And just how finding that right kind of relationship we talked about is the answer. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Thank you for your patience. I hope that I rewarded you, and that you really enjoyed and learned a lot from this reading. And we'll be in touch. Ciao.